so we understand where we're at now.
Well, the Anti-Defamation League began in 1988 at their Hofstra conference in New York to jumpstart a model hate crimes law for America. During the 1990s, they persuaded some 45 states to adopt that and some kind of a state hate crimes law. But their big ambition was always the creation of federal hate crimes law, which would give them behind-the-scenes empowerment to prosecute and end free speech and persecute, especially Christians in America. Now, historically, after 12 years of trying and 5 defeats, they have passed their big federal hate crimes bill. That's in a nutshell. It's barreling forward to conference in the fall.
Now, and for those that don't know, conference is in between the House and Senate to try to make any final changes so that it's a unified piece of legislation. Is there any way to shoot it down in conference or just try to keep that particular amendment on it?
Here's the only strategy I can figure out. Now, President Obama has repeatedly said in recent weeks, he's warned Congress that if they add from 7 to 12 extra Raptor, that's F-22 Raptor fighters, to the defense authorization bill, to which the hate bill has now been attached, he will veto it. In other words, he will veto both the DOD bill with the hate bill on there. And unfortunately, this last week, the Senate did decide to strip off the Raptor fighters in order to please the president and not jeopardize the hate bill. However, the House a month ago voted overwhelmingly, by a huge margin, to keep all those Raptor fighters. So we have two DOD bills now. We have one that's overwhelmingly loaded down with 7 to 12 Raptor fighters and support from the House of Representatives, and then we have another bill from the Senate which doesn't have those extra Raptors on there. Now, what we have to do, what I believe our only real option now, is throughout the summer we've got to join with the very powerful defense arms industry as well as workers in 44 states who are even now lobbying. We have to lobby to get those Raptors back on to the final DOD hate bill in conference in September. We have to create a bill which is so offensive, so overloaded with extra Raptors that Obama will be put on the firing line. He will veto the hate bill along with the DOD bill.
Ted Pike, I know it's important to defeat this. It's critical, but Obama is such a liar that he hardly ever does what he says he's going to do. In fact, he really never does. So if he says he'll veto it, if the Raptors are on it, doesn't that mean he'll probably sign it with even more glee than if the Raptors are there?
This is a big standoff. This is the first veto challenge he has given to his Democratic Senate. This is a standoff. He is wanting to posture here as one who is frugal with taxpayers' money, who cares about protecting America, is not the servant of the arms industry. Even though he's a left-of-left liberal, he wants to give a conservative counterbalance here to all the money that he's...
Well, meanwhile, he's stolen $23.7 trillion with the last administration.
That's exactly what I'm saying now. This is a real standoff. And rather than saying, oh, Obama will just go with the hate bill because his heart is with the hate bill, he knows this hate bill is a lot of trash. He doesn't have any real loyalty. He's promoting it on instruction from unseen powers behind the scenes. What we want to do here is we want to create a contest, a rivalry between the Democratic Senate and the House, who perhaps can be persuaded in conference to defy him versus his reputation and the image he wants to create. And if we can do that, if we can join all summer long getting those phone calls not only into House and Senate members, but also, on the other hand, to the President, encouraging him to stand by his promise and veto the arms hate bill package. I believe this is a real viable opportunity. I believe it's the only real opportunity we do have to kill the hate bill because...
Okay, well, let's try to kill the hate bill, but Pastor Ted Pike, let's look at the stakes. Go over the bill as it stands now if it does become law. Total federalization of police, the police openly being turned into political commissars under the DHS report. Veterans are terrorists, gun owners, Ron Paul, libertarians, Christians, clergy response teams, neighborhood tattletale squads, all Southern Poverty Law Center and ADL trained. I mean, we're not kidding when we say this is right out of Bolshevik Russia.
That's right. You see, even though this Brownback Amendment is at least temporarily put on there until conference, nevertheless, the whole weight of this bill, the whole momentum of it, is to create a thought crimes, bias-oriented justice system in America. And regardless of these caveats like the Brownback Amendment, nevertheless, the practical result is that when this is passed and if it becomes law, then there will begin to be indictments put down from the federal government with the ADL in the driver's seat in the background, and these cases will go before judges at every stage in the judicial ladder, and they primarily will be liberals. They will be exercising compassion and in a more of a holistic approach to the law. They will not only enforce the federal law against violent hate criminals, but against verbal violence. Those words which cut and hurt, and so this will very rapidly flow out and broaden into a broad hate crime, speech crimes law for America.
Separately, where is the Cyberbullying Act? Boy, that sucker's scary.
Yeah, the Cyberbullying Act is still in the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime. The Democrats have been really overloaded trying to get the hate bill through, but you can be sure that next September, October, that will be coming through. And by the way, you don't even have to hurt somebody's feelings on the Internet to be indictable under H.R. 1966, the Cyberbullying Act. You have to only intend to. You see what a thought crimes law this is? You only have to intend.
No, I know. I mean, we've read the passages here on air. It's hard to believe it, but it's the actual bill. I mean, this is more draconian than the hate speech laws in Europe. And folks, if you don't think the cops won't come and arrest you and the judges won't throw you in jail, they can't wait to do it. I mean, look at these DHS reports.
Yeah, and you see, that's why it's so important to whack the liberals on the snout here and stop the big federal hate bill, because if the federal hate bill goes through, if there'll be a breaking of the dam, a deluge of more and more of this ADL legislation coming through.
Well, most of his agenda is failing. He did get his stimulus package, his payoff to his crony package, that big pork barrel, and they have gotten their hate bill, at least so far, but on the greenhouse gas stuff, that's dead in the Senate, at least for now. On the Second Amendment stuff, he has bills to basically end the Second Amendment, allow the Attorney General to ban anything with just the stroke of a pen. So a lot of his agenda is stalling, and his approval rating is dropping. But it is interesting that the first thing they wanted to do was get this hate bill. That was the first thing, was to kill free speech in America. And Senator Jay Rockefeller's running around saying we'd be better off without the Internet, and he wants to restrict free speech. So these guys have really shown themselves to be pure anti-American trash. And Pastor Ted Pike, Reverend Ted Pike, we just only want to commend you for your tireless work against this, and we can only pray and that we're able to defeat this. Fire out the website where people can see the strategy to defend the First Amendment.
Well, thank you. Come to truthtellers.org, where I have an article there on this.
Truthtellers.org. Truthtellers.org. We'll be right back. Thank you, Reverend Ted Pike. You bet. Truthtellers.org. Thanks for that update. We got Rand Paul, Ron Paul's son, Dr. Rand Paul, joining us. Coming up for 30 minutes. We might keep him longer if you want to talk to him. But I want to continue with calls after that and get into this Jay Rockefeller video that's up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, where he gets confronted about eugenics and Bilderberg Group. Very powerful. Great job, We Are Change. That is coming up. I want to get Stuart from We Are Change and Luke on from We Are Change tomorrow. We're there together doing this with other folks. But I wanted to cover this before we get Rand Paul on in the next segment as we start the next hour. Cable TV workers trained to spy on citizens. I mentioned this, but I want to read this article from PrisonPlanet.com. By the way, the caller pointed out that we said Time Warner. The article doesn't say we said it's owned by Time Warner. A commenter said that, so we're not responsible for what commenters say. Side issue. Let me start over. Cable TV workers trained to spy on citizens. Bright House Network's employees will watch for suspicious behavior, which according to law enforcement and DHS guidelines includes being politically active, displaying bumper stickers, or disagreeing with the government. And you can go to Bright House's own statements. They say, we want them to know the community and watch for anything out of the ordinary. And if they see you spank your kids, not against the law, they're still going to go take your kids. Or if they smell something, smells like pot, you're going to get SWAT teamed. It happens to people I know all the time. I mean, one of the Prison Planet Forum moderators, J.C. Coyote, he had some reloading stuff, so they SWAT teamed him. Not allowed to reload in America. Looked strange to them, so it was over. One of the largest cable TV companies in the United States is training its employees to look for suspicious behavior and report to police under the guise of Neighborhood Watch initiative. Since according to law enforcement and Homeland Security guidelines, suspicious behavior